Aloha and welcome to today's Warrior webinar. This episode is going to be about the marine biology major. So we do have a warrior spotlight. As you can see, we have a special guest with us here. So I'll let her introduce herself in a second. But today's webinar is going to be a talk story session. So Kristina will first preface the webinar with two of our most commonly asked questions and then answer it with her own experiences. And then we're going to open up the floor to any questions that you guys have. So the way you guys will be communicating with us and asking any questions is the Q&A function. So I think all of us have probably been using Zoom long enough to know the functions, but just in case, as if you're going to leave the webinar, you're going to hover your mouse over, and then toward the middle, you'll see the Q&A with message bubbles. Click on that, and then we'll set it up so that you can see all questions, so that if you have a question, you can look at the list of already asked questions. And if your question is there, you don't have to ask it, and you can strategize your questions that way. So we'll be verbally going over the questions. So I would prefer the questions be geared toward the marine biology major, any aspect of like student life, because we do have a current student with us here. So yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Connie and I'm a admissions counselor. So if you do have any other admissions questions, I can answer that toward the end, but this time is dedicated toward Kristina and her experiences. So we'll do the student questions first, and then any admissions questions after I can answer. But yeah, Kristina, I'll let you take the floor and go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kristina Tiam, and I'm currently a junior at UH Manoa pursuing a BS in marine biology. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, so I am an out-of-state student who is actually currently here in Hawaii. I went home over the summer because of COVID, but I'm actually back here on island because I do have an in-person lab this semester, as well as research. I have been involved in research since my first semester freshman year, and it's something that I knew I wanted to do all the way back in high school. So as soon as I started school here, I gave myself like a month to settle down. And I guess I'll answer the first question that marine bio majors most commonly get, which is how did I get my research position, and how have classes contributed to that research experience. So like I mentioned, I knew I wanted to do research all the way back in high school. So after giving myself like a month to settle in and get adjusted to all my classes, I started emailing professors. And that's the typical research pipeline at universities is you identify a professor that you want to work with by looking up what their lab research is, what kind of projects are going on, and then sending them an email, setting up a time to meet, and then eventually between the two of you figure out if you're a good fit for the lab or if there's space. So I actually found out, I currently work in the Porter Vision Lab with Dr. Megan Porter, and I actually found out about her lab through the Marine Option Program, which is MOP. If you're unfamiliar with the Marine Option Program, it is a marine biology certificate program. So it's kind of like minoring in marine bio, but it also functions sort of as a club. So I joined it for the purpose of getting like the club aspect of it. Because I'm already majoring in marine bio, I didn't really feel the need to get a certificate in it. But when I went to the MOP student orientation, there was a list of professors that did marine bio research and like a very brief description of what they studied. And then from that list, I kind of narrowed things down and did my research on the like UH website's Department of Biology, and was trying to sort out so which professors are actually doing research that I'm interested in. And I emailed Dr. Porter, we set up a meeting, and then it was not a direct invitation right away to join the lab, I'll say that. She first asked me to show up to their first lab meeting, and then after that, she extended an offer for me to join the lab. I first started doing research to learn molecular skills. It is a molecular biology lab, so it's a lot of pipetting. You got to wear your lab coat. It's less fieldwork oriented and a lot more just like you're at a bench doing stuff with a pipette. And I first started research with stomatopods, which are mantis shrimp. So if you're interested in marine bio, I'm pretty sure you're familiar that these are these like little, they're not actually shrimp, but they look like shrimp and they have these crazy eyeballs. And I first did this project of identifying them by extracting their DNA and comparing it to online databases. And then did that for about a semester and realized that I wanted to take on a more independent project. And I expressed that to my PI, Dr. Megan Porter, and she pitched this idea to me to apply for a grant. So UH Manoa has this program called UROP, which is the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program. And they fund research projects for all undergraduate students. And I was really scared to apply because I was like, I'm just a freshman. I've only like done research for a semester. But I actually applied and won a $5,000 grant to do research, which is the project I've been doing for the entire last year. So all of sophomore year and the beginning of junior year. And that project has been focused on plankton vision, and it's been really rewarding. So that's kind of how I got into my current research position and the kind of research I'm doing now. As far as how my first semester went as an out-of-state student, I'd say I adjusted pretty quickly. I was really excited to be in Hawaii, and I also dormed on campus, so that made it really easy to make friends and also figure out who I am having common classes with. So that was great. I'd say my number one recommendation for students who are wanting to make friends and they're wanting to adjust coming to Hawaii from out of state is probably to join a club or join some sort of program within the first couple weeks of school that you're interested in, because then you'll be surrounded by people with shared interests, especially if they're in the same major or a similar major as you know that you'll see their face over and over again and have classes. So those are good friendships and relationships to build that you can get started on just the first few weeks of school. Yeah, so that answers how my first semester experience was and what research looks like for me. If you guys have any questions related to any of those talking points, feel free to drop them in the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Kristina. So we do have one question up on the Q&A already from Kelvin. So he asked, what advice do you have for those who want to major in marine bio? And I guess if you know, this part is a little unclear, but I guess difference between general bio and marine bio.
Okay, what advice? Okay, so I think the marine, at least here at UH Manoa, it's the two programs are very distinct, but the core classes are the same. So you're taking a lot of like the same general biology courses, chemistry courses, calculus courses. So as you're progressing through those general like STEM requirements, you're going to see a lot of other STEM majors. So biology, chemistry, and like mathematics, physics. The difference between GenBio and marine bio is that marine bio is very lab heavy. So you'll be taking a lot of classes that you have to take in conjunction with a lab. So for example, some marine bio specific classes that Gen Bio students don't have to take is I took ecology and evolutionary biology plus lab, marine ecology and evolutionary biology plus lab. And later I'm going to take an algae class that isn't lab. So I think with the marine bio program, you really explore different aspects of the marine biology realm. So it allows you to figure out what you want to specialize in for your final senior research project. And I think the program does a really great job of allowing you to diversify. Like you're gonna do research with, like take a class with invertebrates, you're gonna take a class with algae. So a little bit of everything really helps you kind of hone in on the specialty that you want to specialize in. With Gen Bio, it's a lot more large scale, and you're taking a lot like things that aren't so specialized, and within the electives of the Gen Bio major, that's where you can specialize. So where pre-med majors can look directly in pre-med electives, and people who are looking to major in Gen Bio but are more interested in marine bio can take more marine bio related classes.
Thank you. And then from an admissions counselor standpoint, we would tell students that the course requirements would be a bit different, but then yeah, as Kristina said, the foundational courses would be the same, but I think it's more of the electives that are are different. And then Kristina, because the foundational courses are the same, would you say if you started off as biology, you would assume it would be an easier transition to get into marine bio?
Yeah, so neither of those courses are like, or of those majors are capped, but if you do start off as like a gen bio major and then decide you want to switch to marine bio and you make that decision within like the first 2-ish years, I'd say you wouldn't have taken any courses that wouldn't have transferred over. It's pretty easy to like, because those core classes are so similar, that you can actually switch between the two. One of my roommates actually did that. She started as a marine bio major and she didn't like taking all the labs, but she liked the lectures more, or like that was more of her learning style. So she switched from a gen bio major or from a marine bio major to gen bio, and she's getting her MOP certificate, so a marine bio minor. So that's another option for you if that's something that you want to pursue.
Okay, so one question, and actually, yeah, I would be curious too. Have you ever used the facilities on Coconut Island, Kristina?
Yeah, so Coconut Island is our state-of-the-art marine biology research facility, or it's the island where our state-of-the-art research facility, the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology, is located. It's actually located on the other side of the island, so it's not located like super close to where campus is, but it's still accessible for students who do research there. Um, my research takes place on campus because I don't have a car and I wasn't really into coral reef research specifically. I was more interested in invertebrates, so I knew I could do that locally here. But I have been to Coconut Island because they have boats on Coconut Island, and to collect the plankton that I need for my research, I have gone to Coconut Island, rented a boat, and just did a plankton tow on the reef right near Coconut. So that was something that I was able to do. And on top of that, for the marine ecology and evolutionary biology class that I took last semester, we also did another plankton tow off Coconut Island. And if COVID didn't happen, we would have been able to snorkel on Coconut Island to do coral reef surveys as part of the class. Unfortunately, COVID meant that all those had to get canceled, but that is integrated into that class experience. So even if you're not doing research directly on Coconut Island, your classes will allow you to interact with that facility.
And I'm gonna just pull up a picture so people know what we're talking about. Because it is a very beautiful picture. And I think, yeah, and I guess a sub part of that question was, do you get to use the research center? So that might be more asking, is how is the access there? Is it easy to get a research position there?
Mm.
From what I heard, like Bailey talk, who was our previous student tour guide, previous admissions counselor who worked on this reef, he said that not all undergraduates get to. It's like kind of competitive, just like how other research positions are. But Kristina, since you're a current student, like how would you answer that?
I say if you are outgoing and you put yourself out there and you're persistent about wanting to work with a specific professor who's doing research on Coconut Island, it's definitely like accessible. So that same roommate who is a MOP student but is majoring in biology, she actually is an intern at the Shark Lab. And she did her MOP research project with the Shark Lab. And she goes there once a week to feed the sharks. But so for her, she actually got the position during her freshman year and has been doing it ever since. And the way I've seen it mostly work is like there's a limited number of, I'd say, like spots for both volunteers and funded positions. And as soon as someone graduates, that's kind of when the professor decides to open up the position to the new wave of students. So it really depends on the timing, but there's never been a year where there have been no openings. And the great thing about those research opportunities on Coconut Island is some of those are jobs and you can actually get paid to do research. So I know another marine biology major who works for the Tobo lab doing research on coral reefs. And she goes there to frequently to pursue her research. And she's been doing that since her sophomore year.
Oh, wow. That is very cool. Okay, next question. Oh, and then I also got to go to Coconut Island, not as a student, as a staff member. So when Amber and I first started, Amber is the California counselor for Manoa. We, as a team, we were all able to go to Coconut Island since we've never been, and we talk all about the island in all of our presentations. So we got to see, it is an open lab facility. So if you walk around, you know, it's all students' projects. There's visiting professors that are allowed to like use the facilities as well. They actually have kind of like a not a hotel, but it's like a line of rooms, kind of like a motel room setup, like a
Mm-hmm.
rooms that you can live in for the visiting professors. It is off island, so I'm gonna pull up that picture here, make it full screen. But it is very beautiful, and if soon.
Yeah, it's always a treat to be able to like go to Coconut Island because I feel like the atmosphere is very like it's very scientific facility, but also one that like makes you so excited to be in the field.
All right, so if you can see my screen, here is, so this is Oahu. This island is not Oahu. This island is Oahu, and then this side is Kaneohe, Kaneohe Bay. So the boat ride, it's a small little dinghy. It can fit maybe like 10 people. It took only 2-3 minutes to get to the island. And then when you get to the island, in the middle, yeah, there's like an open field, and there's the housing there for visiting professors if they have to, like, you know, stay there overnight, because sometimes the research takes some time. And Kristina, maybe we can follow up with the question about like how long some of the tests that you have to run take, because I know that can be hours at times. But it's very cool. On this canal here, this is actually where they have hammerhead shark research. So we got to see the hammerhead sharks. There was a 5-year study and then a 7-year study. So we saw hammerhead sharks of a couple of different ages, and we got to see when they were feeding them. So that was pretty cool. Very cool experience. So I guess I'll leave this picture up since it's nice and it can inspire you all. But we'll move on to the next question. Do you know any opportunities or classes with marine mammals?
Yes, so there are actually some classes that you can take for your marine biology elective that are specifically like marine mammal, like totally just marine mammals. Um, so yes, there are classes that you can take for your elective, which I think is really great that you have the opportunity to take. One of them specifically is focused on whales, and by the end of the class, you can actually test and become a certified like whale watch like scientist. So you would have the certification, like you've gone through the class, you know how to identify all these sorts of whales as like that are specifically local here to Hawaii. So um, once you have that certification, you can actually go out and tell people that I know how to identify whales. So if you ever see one around here, let me know and I can help you out. And um, I speak so much about the people that I know because I feel like once you're in a certain program, you like hear about all the different experiences that people have. But one of my other roommates is actually took that class last semester and got her certification. So even though like marine mammal research isn't what she wants to do in the long term, she has that certification that she can add on to her resume, which is really awesome. As far as opportunities go, there are lots of different research opportunities. Some that are even directly connected to NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or even professors that specifically do research on marine mammals. So you can definitely get in touch with one of those professors or try to apply for a position with NOAA to work with them. Something that's really special to the Hawaiian Islands is there's a lot of endangered Hawaiian monk seal research that's going on. So those are endangered animals, but university students do have the opportunity to do scientific studies regarding where they're beaching and what does their reproduction look like, and that is something that's part of the marine mammal program here.
Very cool. I remembered what I wanted to ask you a few minutes ago about Coconut Island. So you didn't necessarily get a research position on the island, but you were able to use the facilities because of the grant you got from Europe?
Yes, so my UROP, so technically all students have the opportunity to access the Coconut Island facilities. You just need a reason to be there. So they're not just going to let you hop on a boat and show up there and lounge on the island all day. But for me, I knew I wanted to collect plankton in Kaneohe Bay around Coconut Island. So I coordinated with the people who run the boats on Coconut Island and explained like, this is the research I'm doing. I want to do a plankton tow. Does this day work for you? And it worked out. I went out with some people in my lab. We collected plankton and we had lunch in the ocean that day. It was awesome. So yes, even though I'm not doing research directly affiliated with Coconut Island, they do let other researchers connected to UH use the facilities.
Okay. And then I just want to remind students listening in, if you can ask your questions through the Q&A function. I'm just using the chat to give out any links that Kristina is talking about so you can look at them afterward. But to make it all easier, just put all your questions in the Q&A. Okay, so Kira asks, what does the average workload look like per week? So let's break that down into, on average, like how many credits and classes you would take a semester, and then we can do by week.
Yes, that's good. So per semester, so I'm doing a 4-year program, so I will be done after 4 years with my degree. But I'll also preface that by saying that I came in with a lot of AP credits, so that lightened my workload towards the last 2 years. My first year, I was very ambitious and wanted to get gen ed credits out of the way. So my first semester I took, and also just as to preface, UH has like the recommended amount to take each semester is around 15 credits. So that's your like baseline, about 15 to graduate and about the time that you want to graduate. My first semester, I took 18 credits. The second semester, I took 20 credits. And then that like hit a bunch of gen ed credits out of the way. So my sophomore year, I only took 14 credits, then 15 credits. And right now I'm only taking 12, which is the minimum to be a full-time student. So right now I'm taking like just the number of classes I need to maintain full-time status. And then into the future, next semester, I'll be taking 14 credits. And then my senior year, I'll be taking 12 to 13 credits, but half of those credits will actually be research. So I won't actually be in class I'll only be in class for half of those 12 credits. So that's kind of what the credit load looks like. As far as how much work I have to do per week, I'd say when you're taking a lot of gen ed classes, so your first 2 years, you do have more homework that's due more consistently. But as you progress through your major, it's more like big projects or presentations. You might have some homework assignments just to make sure that you're understanding the material well. But it's a lot less busy work the more you progress through upper division classes. To actually give you like a number of how much I put towards my classes, I'd say it's maybe outside of lecture time, I'd spend maybe for labs, maybe 2 hours outside of class to finish the work, and for classes, probably the same 2 hours per class. And that really is just like speaks to time management and how well you like just once you put your mind to it and you can like knock out a bunch of assignments out of the way. But I do really enjoy that. Most of my classes right now aren't busy work, and the homework actually does help me just understand the material better.
Nice, thank you for that question. Okay, so one person asks, are there any research opportunities on board ships or doing scuba diving or working with US fish and wildlife?
Yes, so on ships specifically, UH Manoa actually has this long, like decades long research project called the HOT Cruise. So that stands for Hawaii Ocean Time Series, where they go to this station just north of Oahu called Station Aloha, and it's a huge research vessel, and they go multiple times a year to collect data from Station Aloha, and they have a bunch of data on like how salinity has changed over the years, how has pH changed over the years, what does the plankton in different seasons look like. So that's a long time series, and they allow students to actually volunteer on those cruises where you're actually like a very integral part of the vessel. The same roommate who got her marine mammal certificate did a hot cruise her freshman year, and she took the night shift. She was up doing the boat things and would help set out these tools that were used to collect plankton throughout the day. So throughout those like 3 to 5 days that you're on the ship, you're a crewmate and you're there to help perform the research, which is really awesome. So that is as far as ship goes. Scuba diving, you can actually get scuba certified through UH. I did this my freshman year. And it's a lot cheaper to be certified through the school than if you're going through like a private scuba business. I think they make it really pretty affordable for students. And some of the research that you can get involved in actually can allow you to do scuba diving. So some people in my lab who work with mantis shrimp currently will actually scuba dive to collect some of the mantis shrimp that are found at deeper depths, ones that you can't access just by snorkeling. So that's really just depends on the kind of research opportunities that you decide to get involved in. US Fish and Wildlife, I know that there are close ties between our school and US Fish and Wildlife. Most of those opportunities pop up on our job or internships database that we have all of the opportunities kind of centralized on. Some of those that I'm familiar with involve like going out and just doing surveys of like what's out in the ocean and reporting the data back. So yes, there are research opportunities in all of those categories that you mentioned.
Sorry, I had to mute myself because a siren was going by. Yeah, thank you for answering. And then also you mentioned that along with your other research, you're able to use like NOAA facilities. So that would be another kind of like government or federal agency that UH Manoa has ties to that you can do research with.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of our past student tour guides, Jake. I don't know if you've ever met him, Kristina, but he was one of the students that through the MOP program, the Marine Options program, they went off the coast of Hilo and they did scuba diving to collect data,
Oh, yes.
research,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was using NOAA facilities, NOAA boats, and they were actually working with the NOAA researchers. So yeah, you can work pretty closely with that. So I think someone further down the list of questions, they said that you wanted to work for NOAA in the future. So yeah, you would be able to work directly with people in that agency through, Europe, through the Marine Options Program, and it looks like also through this hot cruise, which I've never heard of. So that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of opportunities there for you. You can put that in your resume, and I'm sure that will help you with getting a job. If you've, worked with that specific agency before, that can only help with your job application. So yeah, I hope that helps answer your question. I'll mark that one done.
I
And
know a lot of I'll say something real quick. I know a lot of marine bio majors are also interested in like working with NOAA. That's actually also my dream. I will throw this out there. I don't know what year you guys are all in school, but there's a scholarship called the NOAA Hauling Scholarship that provides both financial support for your last 2 years of study and allows you to intern at a NOAA facility for 8 weeks during the summer. That is a paid internship. It's an awesome scholarship. I was actually awarded the scholarship this past spring. So I'll actually be interning at a NOAA facility next summer. And that's another way you can start building your ties with NOAA. UH Manoa has had a NOAA hauling scholar, I think, almost every year. So that is another way to get connected.
oh, that's really awesome, Kristina. That's really good. What was the name again?
So it's the NOAA Hauling Scholarship. Haulings is
Oh,
HOLLINGS. Yeah.
I just type that in there. Okay, so if you guys want to look that up later, everyone can, I believe, save the chat. So if you want to save the chat with all the links, definitely do that after. How big are the class sizes on average? So I'll answer part of it and then I'll give it over to Kristina. So I think this depends on what year you are in college. Typically, your first 2 years, you're taking the foundational courses. Those are be like your, Bio 171, Chem 161, your foundational prerequisite courses. You need to take the upper division electives. And so those courses typically, they can be anywhere from like 100, small lectures would be like maybe 50 people. And then the biggest lecture would be like almost 300 students. But if you do have a lecture that is like a big size, like 300, your lecture will most likely be once a week. And then the other 2 times a week, you'll be meeting in what's called labs. You might actually be in a lab, or it might just be like a discussion group. So like, for example, history lecture, you meet in your labs twice a week. And that's where the graduate TA meets with sections of 15 or 20 students. So they break up the whole 300 students into groups of about 15 or 20 for the lab or discussion groups. So class sizes can vary. They can be up to 300 in a big lecture class, but then you also have smaller classes. And then, if Kristina, in your upper division, it's pretty smaller, right? Because it's more niche.
Yeah, I think once you hit marine ecology and evolutionary bio, which at that point is essentially all the marine, like you're only a marine bio major if you're taking that course, that was about 60 students. And then for our labs, they're about 20. And class sizes are closer to like 30 to 60, I'd say. Yeah. But I've definitely taken classes that were a lot smaller. Labs are where you're going to probably get a lot more like closer connections with your TA because of the small class size too.
This one's a fun one. What's your favorite class?
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed taking the marine ecology and evolutionary biology lab, as well as the normal like ecology and evolutionary biology lab, like the non-marine biology version, because both of those labs, like it's integrated into both of them that you're like going out into the field, taking data, and then writing a research paper off of that data. So for the ecology and evolutionary biology lab, we hiked up the ridge that's right next to UH Manoa once a week during our lab. We collected data of like what kind of different plants are located in this 1 meter by 1 meter section, and we like randomly chose like the plots that we would survey. And then we put it all in a big Excel sheet, and you come up with a hypothesis and write a whole research paper on it. And the same for the marine ecology and evolutionary biology one. The first one you collect data for was the plankton cruise, the one I previously mentioned. And the second one would have been the coral reef run, where you're snorkeling in Coconut Island, taking a transect, which is just like a long line of data to see what kind of corals are along a certain length of line.
Wow. And that was through the lab that you
Yeah, so all of those opportunities were directly integrated into the lab.
Oh, that is cool. And then this is just a question that I'm curious. So like, for example, like Bio 171, which is the basic biology course for science majors. So, bio lecture and then bio lab, you have to register for them separately. So that class you're talking about, is it just one class? Is the lab?
It's a lab separately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're marked as co-requisites, which means you take the lecture and the lab together. So what you learn in lecture solidifies what you learn in lab and vice versa.
Very cool. Okay, so I don't know. I don't want to sound dumb. Sharks are not mammals, right? They're blooded. Yeah, they are.
Yes.
Are there marine mammal research going on Coconut Island? Have you heard of any professors doing research?
The professors that all the research that happens directly on Coconut Island usually is not marine mammal related, but that doesn't mean that some of the professors who work on Coconut Island don't do marine mammal research. So the best way to find out like exactly what each professor is researching is if you just look up their like a name of all the professors. You can look up like HIMB, which is Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology researchers. It'll take you to a list of like, these are all the professors that are affiliated with us, and you click into them, and most of them have websites or at least like a page, an official like UH page that's set, gives some insight into the kind of research they do.
And I did link the biology department website. And so there's a tab on faculty and courses. So if you want to look at the faculty directory, I believe their own like UH page should be embedded or linked somewhere in there. So for those of you that want to already kind of get a head start and see like what the research different professors are doing, go ahead and browse that site. And then I think, yeah, so we answered that question. Does the university offer courses on how to do research while diving? So yeah, it sounds like, oh, there's a lot of chances for that to happen. You can do scuba diving and take data and research. Kristina, because your curriculum, it's kind of rigorous. There's a lot of labs where you have to be like either on campus or off campus at the lab. Would you want to study abroad, or is that something that you're interested in? And have you talked to an advisor about that?
Yeah, so actually I had considered studying abroad sometime during my last 2 years. I was actually considering studying abroad in England this current semester if COVID didn't happen. And I'd say the tricky thing about being a marine bio student is that a lot of the classes you're taking as an upper division marine bio student are very like the course materials kind of specific. So when you're looking at study abroad opportunities all over the place, you want to really make sure that those courses will transfer over. And that's the best way to like when you meet with a study abroad advisor, they usually like see how the class schedule that you want to take a certain semester, if all of those classes are offered at the university internationally that you're interested in studying at. So where I was at right now, I was taking like a general cell and molecular biology class. I could have thrown in like, I have like one gen ed, like art or history credit I still have to take. So I was trying to pick out more general classes that I felt like I could find at universities abroad. And it ended up working out if I could have studied abroad this semester in England. One of our programs, Manoa International Exchange or MIX, actually allows you to create your own study abroad program if you don't find one that offers the classes that you need to take. And so the way you can create that is like you identify the university that you want to attend. So for marine bio majors, that's often like Australia or some other like coastal system. It's very like a lot of them will go to Australia though. And you reach out to professors who are offering courses, you get a copy of their syllabus, and then you get approval from the teacher who actually teaches the class here at UH Manoa. Once you get them to sign off on it, you're like, you're good to go. This course will transfer over and the study abroad program will handle the rest. So that's a great way. You can definitely study abroad as a marine bio major. Definitely easier when you're just taking gen ed courses, but also possible with upper division courses.
Yeah, that's good to know. I was wondering too, because yeah, with the labs and all of that. And we actually will have a webinar on study abroad options, and that will happen in December. So look at our events page and register for that webinar if you're interested in studying abroad or doing some kind of exchange program. Nice. So mark that as done. Okay, Kristina, you did live on campus your first year, yeah?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So this question is about student housing. So the student asks, how is the student housing situation? Is there a cafeteria on campus to get food, or do you have to fend for yourself?
So I lived in the dorms my freshman year. The great thing about UH Manoa is that part of our housing complexes, there are these 4 big towers that are like right next to each other. And those are our 4 freshman towers. So the entire tower is full of freshmen. The only non-freshmen in that entire tower are your RAs or your residential assistants who are there to facilitate your time there. And I think it's great because there's this like shared freshman experience that you're like, if you talk about, hey, I went to like do laundry in the roof, like, which is located on the roof, your friend who lives in another building can completely visualize exactly what you're talking about because the layouts are exactly the same, just mirrored. As far as food goes, we actually have 2 cafeterias that you can get food from in the student housing area, and there are other eateries on main campus. when you dorm, you actually are also on meal plan, and your meal plan consists of something called swipes. Each swipe gets you entrance into the cafeteria, which is all you can eat style. And if you're a big foodie like I am, I really care about, like eating good food, and I always go out of my way to find good food. UH Manoa was actually ranked #1 by Forbes magazine, as having the best on-campus food in the nation. So I can actually attest to the fact that I think that we have pretty good cafeteria food, and just to give you like a point of reference, on Thursday nights, we have this thing called premium night, where really fancy stuff is served, like lobster tails and steak and things like that. And I'm also vegetarian, and I believe that like all of the vegetarian stuff they serve in the caf is amazing too. On main campus, you can use points, which are also part of your meal plan. 1 point is equal to a US dollar, to go eat at places like Subway. Oh, sorry, Subway is cash or card, but your meal plan works for Starbucks, Jamba Juice. There's a Mongolian stir fry place. We do have a food court on campus and a Vietnamese place. Lots of eateries on campus, but our cafeteria food is also pretty awesome.
And I'll just, from a personal standpoint, when I was in college about 10 years ago, we did not have that ranking. So for those of you that are coming in now, you guys are lucky. A lot more food trucks, a lot more food options. So that's really cool. And then we have time for just one more question about hurricane experience. This person is from California, so they don't know anything about hurricanes. So I grew up here on the island, and we have sometimes like tsunamis approaching, but in the whole, I won't say my age, but the whole time I was living here, I think in high school, we had a tsunami warning, and so we were told not to go to school the next day just in case. But that was not the first tsunami warning that I've encountered, and nor most of the time the tsunami ends up being like maybe a foot of water. So it's very mild. And Kristina, if you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard and have been told that the way the ocean floor is shaped or curved, it kind of protects us from like the big tsunami waves happening. So I feel like Oahu and the state of Hawaii is like pretty protected against tsunamis. For hurricanes, we've been pretty lucky in the past 30 years not to have a really big devastating one. The last devastating one was in, I think, 91 or 92, Hurricane Iniki, and that one was pretty big. But since like almost 30 years since then, we haven't had one that was like that. It's mostly when it does happen, when hurricane season happens, it's very rainy. Most of the locals are like, yes, it's finally raining. This is kind of like our winter, or, we only have one season year round. So it's, regular sunny season and then hurricane or rain season. So we kind of welcome the different kind of weather, but we've been pretty lucky to have had pretty mild weather. And okay, a follow-up question, last one. How does the university keep their students safe from hurricane? So very regularly, the school will actually, if you sign up for it to be on your phone, they'll send a text to you on your phone, and UH alert system. It sends it to your UH email, and it sends it to your phone if you sign up for the text option. And so they do testing just to make sure that your comms are good. And whenever storm, because we can track it from far away. So when it is approaching and it seems like it might be a little dangerous, then they always give us a heads up and saying, hey, here are these tips, here's the hurricane guidelines. If, to be prepared, prepare a hurricane preparedness kit. If you live on campus in the student housing, they have their own set of like safety regulations and safety that they teach their RAs, and they'll go over that with the RAs. So if anything does happen, you will be in good hands and you'll be taken care of if you are living on campus. If it happens like during school, the staff as well, they are, there's like certain guidelines that the staff have to follow, so you would still be taken care of. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to scare anyone, I lived here my whole life, and I have not experienced a really, really bad hurricane like you would see in like, the pretty big news ones that get a lot of media attention. We've been pretty lucky here to have pretty mild ones where it's just rain. So for that, I appreciate the rain. So yeah, we've been pretty lucky. Okay, so that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. This webinar is recorded and it will be up on YouTube within 24 hours. If you want the link to it, it's on our events page right where you registered for this webinar. So you can go ahead, scroll down to the bottom and then click on view playlist and you can see all the webinars there. We do have more webinars coming up, so go ahead and register for them. And Kristina, thank you so much for your time. Is there any like last words or any last things you want to say to the students, the people?
Yeah, good luck with the rest of everyone's school year. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. If you're very passionate about marine biology, keep up those passions. And I think professors will really recognize your ambition and where your passion's coming from. And just like, if you're genuine, the research experience will work out. And I fully expect it to be, it'll be fine. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so go ahead and leave the webinar. That's all we have for you today. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.